All right, everybody. Welcome to Moonhawk Studios Presents January 8th, 2025, first show of the new year. I am your host, Mac Paladin, and I am broadcasting from my car. Not because I am homeless, but because I lack internet at home and I don't want to sit in my bedroom with my phone in my hand chit-chatting.
Well done. Such grace. So much poise from a fearless leader.
That's right. With me in the studio, metaphorically speaking, as always, is my good friend Adam.
Yes, it would be a bit hard to have your audio studio in your car.
Or would it be? Dun dun dun.
I put all 13 computers and 9 microphones and 15 cameras in here.
It turns out he straps his rideshare passengers to the roof.
I just rented a truck like, what was it, Cat CNAT? or Kai CNAT, whoever that guy who was pretending to be homeless was. Kevin's out this week, but we do have Petty Fan on technicals.
I didn't burn anything down this week. Yay!
And the Golix is here.
I am.
We have a great show for you tonight, but before we get to the meat of the matter, let's start with the news. Adam, what's cooking?
Not much. You know, we're just coming back from the holidays. And mine were, Christmas is quiet. The few days after, had my brother and his family over for 9 days. 9 very long days.
The elephant has to be in Houston in 9 days. 9 days, I tell you.
I mean, it's nice seeing my niece and nephews, but they are a handful. Especially my nephews. Especially when they are allowed to have sugar in them.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
Yeah. Believe me, after a week, I was ready for them to depart. After Christmas period, let's call it.
Okay.
That was my holiday season. Petty, over to you.
So for those of you who don't know, I live in northern Missouri, and we got slammed by the polar vortex. 16 inches of snow.
Ah.
Yeah. And we currently have below 0 temperatures, so we are at risk of pipes freezing. Because the idiot who designed this place decided to put basically all the water pipes in exterior walls. With very poor insulation because our house is over 100 years old.
Ew.
We have already had the pipes in the quote-unquote second kitchen downstairs, because we have a mother-in-law apartment, already burst a few years ago. Last year we had the plumbing in the garage burst and had to get that repaired. So yeah, it's not fun. And then my body still hurts because I had to shovel snow. And having physical disabilities and trying to shovel snow sucks. So yeah. We were able to carve out some spots for the parents to park. My dad was actually stuck in the big city for a couple days because they had the highway shut down. It was so bad. So yeah, that was a thing. Funnily enough, we still have not received. I think we've maybe received 1 day of mail this whole year so far. So that's going to be fun when the mailman finally shows up. And yeah, overall, like before Christmas was relatively quiet. I think the biggest thing I got into was I'm starting to sort out my Digimon bulk, my card game bulk, just because it's starting to migrate everywhere, and I'm like, yeah, no, I want to keep these somewhat pristine, just even if I don't need them, somebody else might. So it's better to corral them now before I get another couple boxes and like, why are my cards here where they shouldn't be? Why are these cards getting messed up? You know? So that's been fun. And yeah, just got a few things for Christmas. Nothing like super big. Because we mostly have just like low key, here's some clothes for Christmas. Here's like a few video game adjacent things, but parents typically don't get me games. Because the last time they tried to do that alone, they ended up getting me stuff for a system I didn't have. Because this is back when I had the 360, and they ended up getting me PS2 games. I didn't have a PS2 at the time. So it's like, I get that the feeling is there, but it's the walk of shame having to go back and help them return those because it's not a system I own. So yeah, that's been fun. As far as, I guess, upcoming fun stuff, this weekend, assuming the roads are clear enough, I'd like to go play some more Digimon TCG at I guess, my quote-unquote local card shop. It's still over an hour away, so it's not much of a locals, but when the shop that was local closed down, that's the second closest place, you know. But yeah, just kind of existing, hoping this cold snap goes away, because, again, neurological issues, cold, don't mix well. So I guess that's it for me. Gullix, you're up.
My holiday was also fairly low key. We had my sister and her family up for Christmas until the 29th. Then we went down for family celebration. And then New Year's has never really been a big thing for me, but I have a friend who has his birthday on New Year's Eve, so hung out with them for that. Nothing significant really for presents. We had a little bit of snow on Christmas, but then it rained and hasn't gotten any more, and we are too far north for this current winter storm, which I prefer to have a little bit of snow lying around in the winters. It helps make it less dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, believe me, my transition lenses have made it very clear. It is very bright outside when they turn almost black.
Uh-huh. So yeah, not that interesting. Video game wise, playing Splatoon 3 because there is Frosty Fest 2 coming up. And over the holidays, I decided to try to play Ebenezer and the Invisible World since I didn't get to that last year. It still not done with it, but I'm over halfway, and I'll probably keep plugging away at that. I honestly haven't had that much time for playing video games. I've got other stuff going on, so that's kind of all I got. This week is a little bit busy for me because I had an early work meeting on Monday, a therapist appointment yesterday, and I have a dentist appointment tomorrow, so that's about what I got to sell.
All right. Well, holidays were subdued for me as well, although I did find some things at the thrift shops. I now have an Atari VCS 800.
Oh man.
Yeah, I got the Onyx edition that has 8 gigs of RAM, and the previous owner of it installed a 128 gig M2 drive.
So basically, you can hold every Atari game ever made like 20 times over.
Yeah, pretty much. They also have this like arcade repository service that is attached to them. PlayStation and Xbox have this as well, as does the Switch. But it's called AntStream,
Mm-hmm.
and it has thousands of classic arcade games and stuff for only $3.99 a month. So I'm gonna sign up for that, since the primary reason I bought this machine was for classic Atari stuff and diddling around with Arcade Anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Only got it for $100, so I feel pretty good about the purchase. It did not come with the advanced controller for some reason, even though the Onyx ships with it.
So they probably just grabbed that as a USB PC pad.
Yeah, well, I mean, it registers as a. It's made by Power A, and is basically an Xbox controller.
Yeah.
So you can use it with your Xbox One or Xbox 360 or PC or
Yeah.
etc.
I think I've seen a couple of those floating around.
I thought about pulling the wired one off of my Xbox One and plopping it on the VCS to see if I could use it, but I don't know. That required effort, and I just didn't feel the enthusiasm. Mom has been ill because of the vasculitis, and her infusions were delayed until this month. She doesn't go in until the 18th. So we had a very quiet Christmas at my mom and dad's house. There was no real gift exchange this year since everybody's broke, thanks to health problems and the usual holiday nonsense that keeps Uber and Lyft slow. And of course, not being able to really focus on artwork or doing commissions or anything else that would generate revenue, like adding more streams, etc., etc. The Verizon internet that I have at home is just not. If I had their gigabit service, which they don't really offer in Tucson at this time, then it would probably be all right. But I don't want to try doing Restream.io if I am going to be forced to 6.44 gigabits upload.
Gigabits or megabits?
Megabits, 6.44 megabits upload. I'm tired.
I know.
Yeah, 6.44 megabits. I when I had Gigablast with Cox Cable, I had at least 38, which was more than enough to run 3 streams at 6K. For people who don't understand, OBS rates your upload in kilobits, and so it says 6,000 kilobits.
Yeah, that's about what we're running at on my uplink right now.
Yeah, I think you have a similar problem, don't you? Where it's not like you don't have a super big pipe going up.
Oh no, I have a gigabit pipe now. I'm 6K is about the cap of what Twitch will take if you're not partnered.
It's the cap period. Basically, if you want it to not be pixelated, then you run it at 6K if you can. Now, what's strange is one of my machines, the one that I broke by trying to upgrade it to Windows 11. Yeah, I turned on UEFI and I tried to convert the file system, and it deleted the boot partition, that little 100 megabyte thing that they put aside, that the secured partition or whatever.
Yeah.
And so my data and programs are all there, but it doesn't function. So I was kind of irritated about that.
I mean, you can make it write a new boot partition if you need to.
I'm working on that. It's just that I banged my head against it for a couple hours and then realized that I had to turn UEFI back off in the BIOS in order to do it, because I have to set it back to MBR instead of GPT as the partition style.
Yep. Like, I get that. I totally understand why they do that, but god damn it.
And it's just one of those things to where, with all the work that I've been doing to try to stop being negative balance account in perpetuity, I just really have not been able to stop long enough to do it. And I've been fixing other things. I still haven't even put the water cooling in the Ryzen 9. But now that the internet's off, I actually turned the machine completely off.
Right.
So I guess I could dismantle it now. The streaming room is set up enough that I can actually dismantle it now without it being a massive undertaking. Without it being a massive undertaking. It's shoved in a corner between a bookcase and my desk. And so if I pull the cables out of it, there's a more than 50% chance that the cables will fall behind the desk, and then there will be a lot of swearing on my end.
So how is it different than usual?
Yeah, as I give myself a stroke trying to crawl under the desk while my cats are trying to get in my face.
Father, love us. Not now, child.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's pretty much it for that. But the arcade room is set up. I got the Centipede door hanger. I got the Street Fighter 2 machine. I got the Mortal Kombat 2 Deluxe machine. I've got the Dell Dimension 4100 repaired, which has my 3DFX card in it, as well as the original Neo Geo emulator, Neo Rage X 0.6B, which was the last official version before whatever the hell this group that's currently running it into the ground is doing with it. Oh, yeah, all the ROMs you had before? Yeah, screw that. You got to go download our ROM package because we decided to require a different format. Oh, God. What is wrong with people? So instead of .rom format, there's something completely different. And I've never been able to get the new version of Neo Rage to work. But I got it to work. It's running Millennium Edition. It recognized the Temu arcade joystick that I bought, the brand new one that has features that are designed for PC, Android, and Nintendo Switch. It actually recognized all of those buttons in Millennium Edition. I was shocked.
Okay, that one's actually shocking for ME because I didn't figure that'd be X input compliant, which is what that probably runs on.
Yeah, I was really surprised, and Neo Rage recognized it and was able to assign all the buttons.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so things are moving along, and I put Linux on a couple of machines that are just not ever going to be Windows 11 compliant.
Right.
I put 22.04 LTS on them.
Ubuntu.
One of them is running Pop Linux, which is an arcade oriented version, and the other one is going to be Mint. I found some Russian gamer package version of it that was running off of 20 point something, and boy did that not work. Everybody was raving about it, the gamer pack that was put into this thing, and nothing on it functioned. It installed I just for S's and G's I put Overwatch 2 on it just to see if it would run. It installed it, and then it insisted that I did not have a GeForce graphics card installed.
Yeah, sounds like Linux.
Yeah. Even though I had a GTX 770, which runs just fine on Overwatch under Windows, but yeah, and of course it recognized it as something really weird. So I tried the 660 titanium that I have, and I tried a 900 series graphics card I got from Nathan, and none of it worked. So I just said the hell with it. Abandoned ship. So, but yeah, I've got a lot of stuff. I'll talk about it more on Blue Sky and Twitter. But otherwise, that's pretty much it for me. I'll just keep everybody updated because Golix and I want to get back to doing strategy RPGs. We originally talked about Thursday nights being optimal, and then I said Sunday was better for me. Now I'm back to Thursday nights, but I actually have to have Thursday nights free in order to do said optimal stream. So, yeah. But that is going to happen, and I actually got some new. I got some new acquisitions from the Super Robot Wars series, as well as a vintage Gundam game for the PS1, and some other things that we can mess around with. But it doesn't always have to be Gundam; it can be other stuff. Mm-hmm. Plus, we want to finish Langrisser as well. I'd kind of like to do the entire Langrisser series at some point, since I have all 5 games. But in the immortal words of Sheriff Buford T. Justice, one shit at a time. All right. With that in mind, let's get to the heart of the show here. Tonight on the podcast, we have James Black of RNG Gamer on the podcast. James, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your show.
Yeah, I have a couple of YouTube channels. One is called RNG Gamer, where I do video game essays and game collecting stuff, and also some game reviews. And my second channel, RNG Gaming, is where I do a lot of gameplay content. And my whole thing is that all the games I play are picked randomly from a random number generator, hence the RNG. And I have a complicated algorithm that I use that sort of selects what I play, and also my, channel members and the chat on live stream can tip money to make me play certain games. And I'm a big collector, so I have a lot of games in the backlog for them to select from.
Yeah. I've been seeing this. I've been seeing this kind of thing a lot. It's nice to have a good gimmick. I did see this other channel called 33 Minute Gamer, where he plays the first 33 minutes of any game and then moves on.
Yeah, you kind of have to have something to stand out now. And it's not like the old days where you can just sit at your dining room table with the 10 games you found at the local Goodwill and get, 700,000 views. But I was doing the random gaming thing like 12 years before I even decided to do YouTube. But because my backlog got so big, I was really paralyzed with choice. And I would just play the same games over and over again. So I just decided to take that option away from myself and develop this system that picked the games for me to play. And, picking the games is almost as much fun as playing the games themselves. You never know really what's going to get picked. And I always look forward to using the random number generator to see what it's going to come up with.
All right. Well, let's get to the interview proper. Adam, take it away.
All right. Well, I suppose we should dig into the random number generator a bit more. Like, is that a program? Is it an actual machine?
No, it has. I have used a machine in the past, but it was difficult to implement that into the YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. So what I do now is I just have a large spreadsheet that is split into multiple categories. The 3 categories are modern games, retro games, and portable games. Whenever I finish a game on the list, I take all the remainder games and I would put them on the Wheel of Names website and just spin it. And I usually do that on the live streams or record myself doing it. And then, the reaction to what gets picked gets put in the YouTube videos.
And is there, how do I put this? Is there a limit to how long a game can be to end up on your wheel?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of caveats to the whole system. Games that are on my wish list, games that I'm looking for, they are put kind of at the top of the list, and games
kind
that
of
I just
higher
happen to
weight
come
to
across.
them compared to something.
Yeah, there is a
random.
higher weight, and they're put towards the top of the list, and games that I just come across are put below those, towards the bottom of the list. And whenever I finish a game on the spreadsheet, I leave that spot blank. And when I roll the random number generator, if it lands on a blank spot, I play the very first game on the list. So over time, the chances of me playing the game that's been on the backlog the longest increases. So it's kind of like the Powerball lottery builds up over time till there's this sort of fever pitch, and that's sort of what happens. And there's another little caveat to it in that every 10 games I finish in a category, I earn a gold star. And when I have a gold star, I can use it to select any game off of the backlog that I want to. But I have to earn those by beating other games. And I usually save those gold stars for big releases like Astrobot or, Elden Ring, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's good because it incentivizes you to actually finish your games. Because if you want to play something you really want to play, you got to put in the time and finish the other games to earn that gold star.
Interesting. And I suppose it's worth asking, what are the games that are longest on the waiting list at this point?
Oh, it goes way back. It goes way back. There are games on the new backlog. There are games, good Lord, like from the beginning of the launch week of the PS4. And there are games on the retro list now that I picked up like in the Xbox 360 PS3 era, brand new, that kind of got migrated over to the retro list when the PS5 came out.
Oh, you mean like my sealed copy of Xenoblade Chronicles X for Wii U?
Yeah, things like that. I'm looking right now. I have a sealed copy of the PS3 version of The Evil Within that I bought on release day. It is still sitting on the shelf right now.
I never actually opened Unlimited Saga when I bought it in 2003.
Really?
Yeah.
Keep that closed.
Yep.
There is no good reason to ever play Unlimited Saga.
Unless I like hurting myself.
Basically.
Sometimes bad games are good for you. Like, there's very few things more enjoyable than playing a great game after playing a really terrible game.
Yeah. Unlimited Saga isn't just bad, it's inscrutable.
It's actually they have a heads up display that you put up on the screen in order to play it that looks like it looks like a bizarre sonic screwdriver.
Yeah.
And it's all about different button presses and motions of the controller that are just completely obtuse.
Oh yeah, I'm quite familiar.
Obtuse was what's the guy's name? That was his thing. Final Fantasy Legend was like that. It's amazing how obtuse that game was for a Game Boy RPG.
Yeah, it was a little rough. I reviewed Final Fantasy Legend 3, and I could not figure out how to level up, and I could not understand how the random encounters worked. And it turns out that the XP you get and the stat increases is just randomized. So you could grind for 15 hours and only level up once, or you could grind for 30 minutes and level up 40 times. It is totally random. It kind of killed it for me.
It's actually so it's based on the Final Fantasy II engine, which is predicated on you basically hitting yourself repeatedly until you gain resistance to whatever it is you're hitting yourself with. So if you want to gain resistance to fire, then you keep setting yourself on fire.
Magnificent.
The entire Saga series is like that.
Yeah, there was a kernel of a good idea there. It's just you want to see it done right. Go and play an Elder Scrolls game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the idea was doing more of a thing will get you more experience in that thing. It's just the implementation has always been bass backwards.
My favorite thing about the entire Saga series, and Final Fantasy Legend, just so you know, is Saga. It's Saga 1, 2, and 3. But the first game was so obtuse that my buddy Brian and I actually ran out of items. We played it when it was brand new in what was it, 1990, 91? We played it when it was brand spanking new. And we got to the final boss, and we're like, how the hell do you do this? And we ran out of everything except for saws. If you use the saw against the creator, you kill him in one hit.
Great.
Yep.
Great.
It literally says the creator flew to pieces, and you win the game.
Wonderful. I hate esoteric bullcrap like that. It's like my number one cardinal sin. My favorite one was that I was playing the original Aliens arcade game, and was just grinding and trying to get better. And I got to the end where you have to actually fight the alien, and just couldn't take her down. Looked online. Turns out you can only beat the final boss after putting in $5 worth of quarters to continue. Like how would you ever do that? So you spend all this time getting really good so you could one credit clear an arcade game, and you literally can't beat the last boss, so you pump in 20 quarters.
Or
that sounds about right.
Yeah. Or like any Famicom game developed in 1986. Looking at you, Goonies 2.
Oh, they're bad. Or Takeshi's Challenge, all that stuff. They get rough. They get really rough.
Yeah. Anything that took cues from the Tower of Duraga.
Yeah.
Deadly Towers.
Yes.
Am I on the front side or the back side? I don't know.
Anyway, I suppose it's worth asking about the third category, portable game. Why does this have its own entry? What do you define as a portable game?
So it used to be kind of more complicated. I had Switch, which kind of straddled between modern and portable. But I decided to just migrate all of the Switch games over to portable. And the reason for that is so let me go back a little bit. I'm always playing a game from one of these three categories. There's no point where I'm like not playing a retro game or I'm not playing a portable game. I just wanted to have a portable game so I could just always be in the middle of playing something that I can travel with. That was it. That was the sole reason. It was a selfish reason. Like I want to have something I can take with me. So I just incorporated that into the whole random system.
So
portable could be anything. It could be Game Boy Advance. It can be Game Boy. It can be Game Gear. It can be Nintendo Switch. Certain portable consoles that are kind of like harder to travel with, I don't count those. So like the Vectrex, that's part of the retro thing. Even though it has handles on it, it still counts as a retro console.
Yeah, the Vectrex is a standalone unit, but it's not a portable. In no way is that thing portable.
Well, I have a complete Vectrex set. I have every game made for it, including the 3D imager, and I have a boxed, sealed Vectrex system. I'm looking at it right now. and it says built-in screen, good on the go.
I mean, I guess
let me
if
just
you have a
Let me just rucksack this across country.
Yeah, I know.
60
The
pound
box
pack.
is easily 2 feet tall and about 18 inches wide, square. And with the Vectrex in it, I'm guessing it weighs probably about 25 pounds.
So basically your average army war pack.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
You put straps on it to make it portable. Just carry it around like a backpack. Anyway.
Would something like the Steam Deck count as a portable system?
That would be tough. I don't have a Steam Deck. Sorry. I don't have the other one either. But yeah, I don't have a Steam Deck, and I guess I would count it as, it would just be dependent on the game you were playing. So if you were playing like an old, playing Baldur's Gate 2 or something on Steam, I would count that as a retro game that you would just be able to take with you. And if it was a modern game, I would count it as a modern game. But that's a good question. I've never considered that. I try to play every game physically. I don't really buy too many digital games unless I have a really expensive game that's sealed or something like that, and I don't want to devalue it by opening it. But yeah, I guess it would go based on the game itself. But I could see incorporating it into a portable system as well.
That makes sense. Especially given the nuances of what works on the Steam Deck and what doesn't. What they call verified.
I mean, yeah, like it's going to be hard to play a real-time strategy guide or real-time strategy game on the Steam Deck, and but some like old Super Nintendo game like Clock Tower or something like that, I would definitely count that as a retro game. It would just be the fact that you can sit down and play it on your PC. That I think that's really kind of the defining characteristic of what list on the backlog it is. Because I have a PlayStation Portal. I just did a review of the PlayStation Portal, and I count that as I'm playing a modern game on it. It just happens to be portable, and at the same time, I'm playing Astral Chain on the Switch, which is in the portable category.
Interesting. And how did the PlayStation Portal work out?
Dude, I mean, you can watch my video all about it. I talk about how I was not sold on it and I didn't understand really what it was supposed to do. I was like, why do you want to play your freaking PlayStation 5 in another room of your house when you already have a PlayStation 5? And I was sitting in, I guess this was like a little bit after Thanksgiving. I was sitting in the living room with my kids, and they were watching like Bluey on TV, and my oldest daughter was coloring, and my wife was trying to get ready, and we were like trying to get out the door. Like we were trying to go somewhere, and I was just doom scrolling on my phone, just like not doing anything. And I remembered what several people from my Discord and my Patreon told me was that the PlayStation Portal had like fixed that for them. That like they get in more time playing that than they've gotten in years. And I was like, I don't know if it's going to work. So I did what I always do, and I go out and throw down a bunch of money for no reason. Bought one and brought it home. And turns out you get in a lot of game time. Like all those little time periods where you're not doing anything and you're waiting for someone to get their shoes. Like the other day I flipping popped it on and played some Balatro while I was waiting for the water to boil for making spaghetti. Like I got in 10 minutes there, and that stuff adds up over a week, and after a couple months, you finished a game that you wouldn't have been able to finish otherwise.
Indeed. I mean, it's one of the things that makes the Switch so popular.
Yeah, the Switch is great for that too. I will say that I don't like the form factor of the Switch. I even have like the Hori Joy-Cons that kind of buff it out a little bit and make it a little bit more robust to hold on to. And it does make it better. But something about the Portal being able to just like play your PlayStation 5 games, it's just, I don't know. I just seem to like playing it better. It's a way more ergonomic system to hold on to. And the screen is a lot better looking. And but I do love the Switch, but it never occurred to me, I don't know why, to just sit down and play the Switch for a few minutes. Every time I play the Switch, I'm like playing in docked mode, or I'm, on my lunch break or something, or I'm, on a flight somewhere. And I maybe it's just the games selection I've picked on the Switch or something like that. But yeah, I'm more into it now, and I probably will be using the Switch more like that after I get done playing Balatro for the next 500 hours.
Yeah, I have a weird setup because I only bought a Switch Lite, and I bought it 2 years ago off of eBay for $100, and I have it actually set up with a camera pointed at it for when I want to stream games, rather than get a Switch OLED or anything like that. And so I don't even use Joy-Cons. I literally have it on a pedestal that I got at 99 cents only stores before they went out of business, from Level Up Games, and I have a Bluetooth controller that I got at Five Below.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, I agree with that. I've done something similar with the Game Gear before. It didn't have a Bluetooth controller, but I have pointed a camera at the console. That was before I had my buddy make me a consoleized Game Gear.
I have that Elgato audio bridge cable, so so the audio quality is really good, and as long as I don't have too much light pollution, the camera actually looks pretty much like I'm just streaming it right off a regular console.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how many times I've even streamed the Switch. I think I've only streamed the Switch maybe a couple times. My everybody, I told you guys that they can tip money and pick the game I want to play, and that's pretty much what always happens. And they just only pick the hardest crap. Like they never pick like a game that's like, oh, that'll be a good time. Like we just finished Ninja Gaiden Sigma, and now we're playing Shadow Tower, which is like the grandfather of Demon Souls and Dark Souls, but way more convoluted and harder to play, and it is just like nightmare fuel difficult. But like we played Silver Surfer, or I played Silver Surfer, and ended up getting I think I did a 1 credit clear. I did a 1 credit clear, so no continues on Silver Surfer.
Wow.
But yeah, they're ruthless. Like they only pick hard stuff.
You single coined a laughing, joking numbnuts game?
Yeah, I definitely did. 100%. Yeah, no problem, man. I made it all the way to the last boss without ever dying.
Damn.
So it was like a no miss run, but I'd never really taken down the last boss before. So I only had like my extra lives to try to take him out.
We are in the presence of greatness here, folks.
Man, I try, but
if you can one coin an LJN game, oh my god.
Yeah, I can do it. I was ranked. I was the only North American in the top 20 on Mushihime Sama, which is considered to be one of the hardest shoot 'em ups of all time for, a good 6 months till I just stopped playing it. But I have some decent gamer skills for an old man that doesn't play as much as he used to.
Probably better than anyone here.
Don't say that. Don't sell yourself short.
I got to get back into fight for my Arcade Anarchy. I got to get streams. I got to get back into fighting shape and not. I got to get to the point to where I don't eat shit on the first board of Pac-Man.
Pac-Man's a tricky one. Once you get into the flow of it, you feel great. But I would say 95% of gamers out there these days couldn't clear the first board of Pac-Man.
Mm.
I watched, I went to an arcade. It wasn't an arcade. It was a skating rink for my oldest daughter. I guess it was her friend's birthday, and they had like a Miss Pac-Man Galaga combo machine.
Yeah.
And the freaking high score on Galaga was like 22,000 points. And I was like, that's like the fourth state. Like, there's like nothing. And I can usually easily, even on like a bad arcade conversion with like an LCD screen, get 150,000 points. And people are just like blown away with that. Like, no one's ever scored that high. But you go to like another arcade where people actually play, and it's just, you know, kill screened like 9,999,000, you know,
Yeah.
points. And same thing with Pac-Man. I watched a guy play Pac-Man, and he can get to the kill screen because, you know, you learn the algorithm of the way the ghosts move, and you're fine. That's why they brought Miss Pac-Man out. And but like just put like a 9-year-old on regular Pac-Man and see what happens. You've never seen anybody get so frustrated, and I love it. I love to watch them suffer.
Play the original Sonic the Hedgehog, and it was a sight.
Oh
Yeah,
it's
that was
crazy.
my nephew playing Sonic 1 with a controller. He did not know what the thing that he was holding was and how to operate it. You know, being raised on the touchscreen will do that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. It just the idea of moving in 2 dimensions is so hard for a lot of young gamers. My oldest daughter, she got every star in Super Mario Odyssey, or not star, whatever it is you are. She got like all 200 of them.
Yeah,
and she was like, "That's fine. Like that was no problem." But then we tried to play Super Mario Wonder, and like she just literally couldn't like run and jump across a basic gap. She had no concept of it because she's only ever played 3D games like Minecraft and stuff like that. So you put it in two dimensions, and that the limitation of it like overwhelms her. It's a strange experience.
Put the original Contra in front of her.
Oh God.
Oh Lord, no. Tears would be had. She would be very upset. She'd be like, "You die in one hit." I'm like, "Yeah, buddy."
And it makes that horrible screaming
Time
noise.
to introduce you to a little game called Ikaruga.
I was going to make
God.
a joke of back in my day,
So-
you had to pay for extra lives.
I know, right? So Ikaruga, I have an arcade cab of it. And I love Ikaruga. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And I showed her the video of the guy who's playing it on the hardest difficulty with a perfect chain, but he's playing 2 players simultaneously by himself.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've ever seen this. And like, yeah, he's like with both hands, he's controlling the joystick and like with his pinky and like trying to do
I've
it.
seen that.
But
That makes my hands fucking.
It's so insane. It's so insane. And she was like, "That looks like fun. I want to try it." Guys, it was yeah. It is no joke. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I probably couldn't right now, but I've one credit cleared Ikaruga on normal. Not chaining all the way through with like a perfect score, but not dying.
I'm like, I think I once got to level 4. Like,
You can do it. Try Ikaruga's still hard on easy. Pop it down to easy.
the thing is,
and-
I never really jive with the gimmick of Ikaruga. The whole switching thing.
The polarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of weird. What finally kicked? So the first time I ever played it, I got it on Xbox 360. It was like an Xbox Live arcade game, and I played it, and I was like, "This is just like a worse shoot 'em up. Like this is just like not. It's just not good."
That's one of the things I'm glad you did not share on the internet.
Yeah, I was like, "This is not good." And
I wish I hadn't have sold my incredibly rare GameCube copy of that.
well,
I
I
still have my
can beat you on the rare GameCube copy. I wish we had video. I'll show it to you, but yeah. So I played it on Xbox 360, but I was like trophy hunting or achievement hunting at the time, and I saw one of the achievements for it was called like Bullet Muncher, and I was like, "What the hell is Bullet Muncher?" And the achievement was to beat the game without ever firing a shot. And I was like, "What? Beat the game without ever firing a shot? You only switch the polarity and you just survive. And you try to, when you're the same polarity as the same colored bullet, you absorb the bullet, you munch the bullet."
Jesus.
And I went through the whole game doing that. And I found that part to be actually more fun than shooting down the enemies. So then when I went back and tried to like beat the game on hard and everything, I was really into the polarity switching. But it took like days of playing the game to let that really not just switch in my brain, but just like to appreciate what it was. But as for Ikaruga, like I said, I have the arcade cabinet. I have the GameCube copy. I have the import Dreamcast copy, and I have from Nicholas, who published it, the custom limited edition friggin' PS4 version of it.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an Ikaruga fan, just a little bit.
Indeed.
But I'm a huge shoot 'em up guy. I have a ton of shoot 'em up stuff, and Ikaruga's right up there at the top. Maybe only Mushihime Sama and R-Type beat it out. For me, anyway.
Right. Does your finger reach Takahashi levels of, speed?
No. I prefer the ones. Most of my favorite ones are like done by Cave, where you just hold down a button. Like you have one button that's a spread shot, and then you have one button that's a focused shot, and it's just about dodging. I'm a much better dodger than I am like button tapper. Although I will say that there is a one of the rarest games on the Nintendo Switch is called Arcade Love plus Pango. It's like painfully rare, and it's a Japanese import. It has some ports of rare arcade machines on it, and some of those arcade machines train you to be better at playing video games. So it like does exercises to make you tap faster and things like that, and then it grades you on how they give you a gamer age, and the best you can do is be 17 years old in your gamer age. So if you're like 17, that's the best you can be. Apparently, according to the developers of this, 17-year-olds are the best gamers, and I maybe agree with that. But I could get down to like the age of 23 on a lot of the button tapping, which was pretty good for a guy at the time who was like in his late 30s. So I was pleased with that.
Oh man, yeah, I'm about to turn 48, so I'm staring down the barrel of button masher arthritis.
Oh man, yeah. You learn all kinds of tricks. I was playing a shoot 'em up not that long ago. It was on the Famicom, and you just have to tap, and I just started like tapping with my index finger knuckle, like the constant on the tip of my finger, on the pad of my finger, was like making my joints hurt. So I was like, I'll just use my knuckle, and I was actually faster because it's harder. Like there's less.
That was how I used to play Mega Man back in the day. Mega Man 2.
Oh yeah.
I would sit there with my index finger and my middle finger over the A and B buttons.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, the claw
Never
grip.
use the thumbs when playing Mega Man.
Yep, the claw grip.
Yep.
So, getting back to your streaming and the wheel of randomness, how do you deal with like let's say the Atari 2600, where games aren't beaten, but you rack up the high score? And
so that's a good question. So I'm under like no obligation to ever beat a game. To me, like although I did check, I beat about 85% of them. I'm under no obligation to beat them, but I give every game a fair shake. So if like the Atari 2600 pops up, I'll play the game 2 or 3 hours till I feel like I've experienced everything the game has to offer. If I feel like I haven't, I'll keep playing it. But, if the game absolutely sucks and it's just like hell on earth and miserable to play, I'll rage quit like anybody else. And then I'll film a video about how it made me rage quit. And so recently I played a PlayStation 5 game called Scorn, and I freaking hated it. It was like the worst game I've played in years, and I did not enjoy it at all. I played it about an hour. And so when I gave my review, instead of being like, the frame rate ran it, it dropped down to 55 frames a second and all this sort of stuff, I was like, guys, let me just walk you through my first hour of playing this game. This is what the puzzles were like. This is what I felt like, and this is why I got mad. And people enjoyed that. And, that video got, I don't know, what, 30,000 views or something like that.
Mhm.
So you don't always have to be so analytical. You can be very subjective in your reviews sometimes. But
Trust me,
if it's just like some bad Atari game, I'll play it 2 or 3 hours and be like, Kroll on the 2600 is not a good game. That's
I mean,
you don't need to spend 10 hours with it,
no. Like, we review quite a few games ourselves, and I definitely have the mantra that if I'm not enjoying myself, or I think the game is really bad, a half an hour or an hour in, it's not going to get better in like hour 8.
I mean, yeah,
Well,
you're
especially
absolutely
those
right.
really old games that don't have 8 hours worth of content unless you're replaying a lot of parts.
Yeah, 100%. And that makes sense. Sometimes you'll play a game and you're just not enjoying it, but you don't know why. Like, I can't put my finger on it. When I feel like that, I'll put the game down and come back to it a few days later. And half the time I end up appreciating it, liking it better. And the other half of the time I'm like, nope, I was right the first time. It's not worth playing. But some games you just know. Like, I played Ninja Kid on the NES not that long ago, and I was like, 30 minutes into it, I was like, this game's not designed well. Like, I know enough about game design by the couple thousand games I've beaten that, like, they just didn't have it. Like, Bandai just did not know what they were doing, and this is a bad idea. And I'm going to play long enough to get some gameplay footage to do the review of it and, to kind of almost try to figure out what's going on and then, ship it on down the river.
Yeah,
So,
for our reviews, we at least try to be somewhat constructive, but there are games that they have been utter trash that we have nothing good to say other than avoid.
Thank you for shellacking our game.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, some people have taken offense to that. We have receipts, don't we, Adam?
I'm like, that happened just a few months back.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's weird. Do you guys post your reviews to YouTube?
Yeah. YouTube
Yeah,
and
so-
Twitch.
Okay, all right. So let me give you a little insight here on my experience on YouTube. So I have my main channel, which is RNG Gamer, which has I'm on my way to 16,000 subscribers. I've been doing it about 2.5 years. And so I don't really just review a single game. What I do is, since I play everything randomly, I wait till I finish 5 or 6 games, and then I package them all together into one video. And I'm like, these are the 6 games I beat, in October or something like that. And most of the people that come watch my videos, that they'll watch those and they'll, they just kind of learn about new games, or they're not seeking out anything in particular. They just want to hear what I want to say about my experience. Well, I had a lot of people reach out to me and say that they were trying to find a review I did in an earlier video, and they just couldn't locate it because you can't flag a specific game. As you guys know, when you upload a video to YouTube, it asks you is this a gaming video? And you go, yeah. And it's select the game. You can't select the game if you're covering 6 games in a video.
Right.
I think if you put timestamps with the game name on it,
yes.
you can search it that way.
Yeah, so it actually won't pull it up in YouTube, but it'll pull it up in Google. It'll SEO optimize it for Google. So you can find it that way. But at the time, and they've only been doing that within the last 18 months.
Okay.
And I didn't know that. Mainly, I just didn't know that. So I had this idea of what I would do is I'd take those videos and I would cut them apart into their individual games. And I would make each game its own video. And I would post that on a second channel. So if somebody wanted to find a specific review that I mentioned, they could just go over to the second channel, just type in the name of the game, and it would be there. And that's what I did. However, I never thought that those games would get picked up by other people in the YouTube algorithm. And so what'll happen is I'll review a game on my main channel and it'll be batched in with all these other games. I'll play a Phoenix Wright game, and then I'll play a Call of Duty game, and then there'll be an Atari 2600 game. And everybody's like, what an interesting group of games. I can see how you felt this way. But then when I split it apart and put it on the other channel, there's no buffer. It's just people coming to that video looking for that review. And what I didn't realize at the time is most people, when they want to play a new game, they don't look up reviews. The people that look up reviews are people that are already fans of a game. Like, they want to have someone reassure them that they're right about the game. And I did not realize that the Phoenix Wright community is the most ruthless and hateful community on the entire internet. I played
my sweet summer child. Welcome to life.
Oh man!
You mean they're actually worse than Star Trek, Star Wars, and Doctor Who fans?
Bro, they're worse than lawyers.
They're the worst. They're the
Sonic
worst
fans?
I've ever seen. I did my video where I covered the 5 games, and a lot of people were like, my complaint was that when I played Phoenix Wright, so I didn't play the original one. It was like the prequel to Phoenix Wright that came out on the Switch. And I was upset that it did so much hand holding. And I was like, guys, I understand that you're playing as like a Japanese student in 19th century England. And I was like, but when I go to do an investigation, why the flipping hell do I have to click on like every single item in the pawnbroker shop? Like, it's like, this is a Victrola and that was used to play. It was a predecessor to record. Like, it had to tell you what every single thing was. And I was like, does the game not trust me to not know what a Victrola is or what a music box is or like what a revolver is? Like, every single thing you did, it had to like have some snippet of dialogue about what it was. And then when you go into the
90% combination visual novel and point and click adventure games, you get a lot of text.
But when you go to the trial,
I'm looking at you, G5 games.
Yeah, when you go to the trial, it's like the defendant would say something, and it like he would obviously be lying, and it would cut to your assistant, and she would be like, "I think he's not telling the truth. We should definitely question him about that." And then like the main character would be like, "I think my assistant's right. We should definitely question him about that." And then one of the people in the jury would be like, "That was strange. He said that. You should definitely question him about that." Like, it was just so heavy-handed with it. And I mentioned
the early cases, especially, they do kind of
absolutely. And I mentioned
super obvious.
And I was like, I don't think that this was the right place for me to start with Phoenix Wright. I should have started with one of the original Phoenix Wright.
Yeah, start. That's one of the ones where everything after, I'm going to say everything after Apollo Justice, which is the 4th game that came out. Some would say, including Apollo Justice, is a lot more involved with itself.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. But on my main channel, everybody was like, "Oh, that's really interesting. You know, I never thought about it that way." And it's strange that they did that. Yeah, I noticed they did that too. And maybe you should have started somewhere else. But on the second channel where I posted just the review of that, dude, I got like 1,300 comments from people. And they're like, "You just don't understand this series. You didn't understand. You got to take it from the point of view. You're a young Japanese person and you're in England. And of course he doesn't know what a Victrola is and all this." Dude, it was crazy. That video, so the one on my main channel had a 99% like rate. On the second channel, it had an 8% like rate.
Jesus
92% of people disliked that video. And I just did not understand that. That like, in my mind, everybody on YouTube is like in this same little community, but it's not like that. It is. It is cliquish and it is different, and there are battlefields that you don't want to wander into. And so at that point,
it's like being on the wrong side of Twitter or TikTok.
Oh, it's rough. On my main channel, I'm so insulated from all that because I'm like, he's the nice guy that like he's the game collector that doesn't buy and flip stuff. And a bit over there, and like on the second channel, it's just like this guy, he hates my favorite game. And by the way, I gave the game an 8 out of 10. I gave the game an 8 out of 10. I just said like these are the few little problems I had.
This game is perfection.
I know, yeah. It's like if you say one bad thing, and they're like, "I can't believe he's trashing this game. He just doesn't understand." I was like, I mentioned like one bad thing. It's like finding the perfect house, and you're like, "I don't like the color of the wallpaper in the bathroom." And they're like, "He trashed my house. He said the worst crap about my house, and now I'm not going to sell it to him."
Yeah, they are good games. I'm glad you enjoyed it at least some. They are a little bit over-explanatory, and I definitely recommend if you want to take another run at it at some point, starting with an earlier game in the series.
Well, that's what I should have done. The problem is I didn't own any of them, and this was like the one I owned, and it got picked randomly on the backlog.
Fair
thing,
enough.
and
They have collections available now, but I understand why you wouldn't necessarily have picked that up.
Yeah, well, the collection hadn't come out yet. They announced it in
true,
Japan on the Switch, but I don't think it had English on the cart. But afterwards, they of course announced it. But I might go back and pick them up because I did like the gameplay of it. I like trial games, and I tolerate visual novels enough. I thought the characters were interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But what got me on this one is it was 5 chapters. The first chapter was about an hour. The second chapter was about, 90 minutes. The third chapter is about 2 hours. And I was really enjoying that. Like, each one's getting more and more complex. I got to the 4th chapter and it was like 3 hours. And I was like, that was a bit much. There was 1 chapter left in the whole game. And it was like, I'd put my kids to bed and I was like, I'm going to lay down and I'm going to finish this game tonight. And I started playing. The 5th chapter was 8.5 hours long.
Yeah,
the 5th chapter was longer than the whole rest of the game.
The last case is always kind of huge compared to some of the other ones. They always got to put the stakes high and have more twists and turns and all that stuff.
Yeah, I wish I'd known that before I was like trying to finish the game 30 minutes before I had to leave for work. Like stayed up all night long playing it.
I had the worst, on modern games. I've been playing, through the Hoyoverse stuff, and I did a long video of the end of Jirilo 6 in Honkai Star Rail, and I ended up with such a massive migraine after beating that boss. Oh my god!
Oh, now you do it.
Oh god! That ended up being an 8.5 hour long video. I was there. I started at 9 p.m. and ended up at 6 in the morning.
Oh Lord! No. I can't. I can barely stay awake after like about 11:30 anymore. Every night after I put the kids to bed, I was like, I'm gonna lay down and finally finish watching this one movie. I'll make it like 8 minutes and fall asleep on the couch. I have been watching the freaking same movie for like 3.5 weeks. I'm like 3/4 of the way through it. I don't know how you stayed up all night and did that. And it's very like finicky, right? On Honkai Star Rail, right? It's a lot of like button inputs, right?
Genshin Impact is an action RPG. Honkai Impact the Third is a action RPG, it's like a Devil May Cry style game.
Mm-hmm.
And then Star Rail is more a traditional JRPG, except instead of being menu driven, you press the corresponding button for the action for the character that you want to play. When they come up, you choose between a couple of different actions. So unlike Genshin Impact, which has a real big learning curve, being a controller player, because with my arthritic hands, the last thing I want to do is be, reaching halfway across the keyboard. It reminds me of when my dad used to talk about, driving a manual transmission big rig truck.
Oh yeah,
for the phone company back in the day. He's like, yeah, those old '82 Chevys. First gear was fine, third gear was bad, second gear was all the way past the glove box.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
and then they loop back on themselves, all 18 gears. Yeah, it's
so Genshin,
that's weird.
Genshin is not good for that.
Yeah, Honkai. Someone described the combat of that to me is very similar to the Xenoblade Chronicles games.
Kinda.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've never played it, but a couple people that work in my lab, sort of, in my day job, play it.
Yeah, it's a modern evolution of the menu-driven combat of the old Final Fantasy games. So each action has a wheel, basically, with a corresponding button on the controller, X, Y, A, B, and so on and so forth, L1, L2, R1, R2, that kind of thing. So Yeah, so it's basically like Final Fantasy 13.
Right. I'm very familiar with that.
Okay.
With the whatever it was
No
called,
further
TB
explanation
gauge,
required.
the AB, the BA, the TB gauge, the tuberculosis gauge. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, no further explanation required.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little bit like that. So, but only refined.
Awesome.
Yeah, and no 25-hour tutorial.
You're never gonna let that go, are you?
Nope. I will take that to the grave. That's the hill I will die on.
I didn't think it was
no
bad.
25 hours on rails.
Yeah, I mean, I like walking down hallways as much as the next guy. At least you were watching a
And
girl
also-
walk down a hallway. I mean, that made it better. But the thing that
also-
I liked was who was the Hope, the annoying kid.
Yeah.
He was the worst. But I liked 13 too. I liked the one with her sister.
I mean, it's good, but my qualm with the entire Final Fantasy 13 saga, if you will, is that the next two games cancel out everything that happened before it.
Well, it did, but the truth is, I didn't understand what was happening before it anyway. Like turning into the crystals and all that crap. I was like, you lost me, buddy. I'm done with
Lightning
this.
Returns was just literally you against every enemy. Was just lightning against every enemy, and then it basically erased all the progress from 1 and 2.
Yeah, I did not like Lightning Returns. Fetch quests in a row.
Like Dragon, like the original Dragon Quest, only not fun.
Yeah. 100%.
Very grindy. Very grindy. Did I lose audio?
No,
I
I think
Go ahead.
No, the conversation just stalled there. Like,
Yeah, I'm waiting on you guys to ask me another question. Come on, throw them at me.
We had a
ready
brief
for it.
audio glitch for like 3 seconds, and then there had just been a desync on everybody there. But yeah, we seem to be synced back up now.
okay. Right. Trying to think.
I guess because you mentioned the stars, we kind of got derailed on like what you're doing with infinite games. Do you still have like side objectives to earn stars in like an infinite game, or is it just you play it for a few hours for fun?
Man, like infinite games, like it's usually when I'm done with it. And
Yeah.
I used to have this whole system where it was like, if I just play a game for an hour, it's worth like 0.3 point, like a star. Like I have finished 10 games, right? If I just play it for an hour, it's worth like 0.3 of a game. And if I complete the game, it's or if I finish it, it's like worth 1 point. And if I like 100% it, it's worth 2 points. It got too confusing to like explain that shit on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I was just like, as long as I give it a fair shake, 10 games gives me a gold star. And there's other little weird things like we're talking about like a compilation game, like the Phoenix Wright games. There's 3 games on one cart.
Mm-hmm.
Like on my backlog, I split those into 3 different games.
Right.
And I used to be like, well, I only get like 1/3 of the completion of the game because I only finished one of them. No, now it's just like, did I experience the game like in its fullest form? Like, don't worry about all that.
They even distinctly say they are 3 separate games just in one package.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. The only time that gets weird is when you play something like the Atari 50th anniversary celebration.
Right.
I did this damn review of the Atari 50th anniversary celebration. It was the first sponsored video I ever did. And they sent me a free copy of the game, and they're like, you're going to review it. And I was like, I got you. I did this.
I think we desynced again. Yeah.
It took me, between playing all the games and editing everything, it took me like 120 something hours to do it. And when all was said and done, that video, I think it got like 350 views.
Ooh.
And I was like crushed. And they released the DLC for it recently, and it has just like done a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And I checked it today, and let's see what it's at, because it just it's like an evergreen video.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my lord, let's see, 61,000 views on it. So it took a year and a half for that video to finally take off. But I will say this: I didn't give myself credit for beating 104 Atari games. Like, I didn't earn friggin' 10 gold stars off of that, because that's just unfair. That's not in the spirit of like how that game works. That game is like an interactive documentary, and you're supposed to, grow along with Atari as Atari grew over time. So I treated that as like one game.
We actually had the Atari 50 devs on our sister show, Fragments of Silicon, and like it's basically a museum.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like I said, it's an interactive documentary. Like, you're watching, videos from the developers, and you're reading, internal memos, and you're looking at schematics of, arcade boards. It's a really interesting concept, and I loved it. Like I said, I just try to go with the spirit of the game. I'm not so like hardcore that I'm like, compilation on PS4. Like, each one of those I'll treat as an independent game, because I'm going to put hours in each one of those.
Right.
I'm sure as hell not going to spend 3 hours playing friggin' 2600 volleyball, real sports volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
Game in the Atari Flashback 7 for an hour.
Yeah. But my God, everybody has their limits.
I imagine if we had ended up doing Tetris Forever, it would have been not spending a whole bunch of hours on every Tetris game, because there are like 18 Tetris games in that thing.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends how long you let me loose on it, because I do like Tetris.
Yeah.
A completionist playthrough of Sneak and Peek.
Yeah, no.
How do we throw him out of his car?
Find all of the hiding space.
Yeah, no.
Then followed by a round of Porkies.
Yeah,
don't forget sending Sneak King.
Yeah, no. I tried to get the friggin' platinum, not the platinum, but the complete 1,000 gamer score on Sneak King. It was nightmare fuel, and it was awful. I regret spending so much time on it. But you were mentioning like infinite games. Like, if I were like, I'm playing Balatro right now, and it's I'm going to put hundreds of hours into it. It'll just be on the backlog till like I get done with it. And sometimes though, I will, if there's some game like The Binding of Isaac, like I put like 2,000 hours into that freaking game.
Oh my God!
I'll move it over. Like, I'll move it off the modern backlog game I'm currently playing, and it'll go into its own fourth category, which is like, play this in your spare time. That's kind of like an almost off the grid game. But eventually I will have my fill of it. Like Slay the Spire. I was like, 600 hours of that's enough. And I'll do a review, and I'll earn my 1 point towards my gold star. But that's evened out with things like, Atari 2600 games, and, you'll knock out a bunch of those real easily.
Oh yeah.
So that can make up for it. And I have another rule. I can only bank 10 gold stars, and I'm like full. I've got all of them. So I have to like use one now, and I'm excited about it. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to play. I have to debate about it for a couple days. Just the next game I finish, after that, I get to spend a gold star.
All right, so we're getting low on time here, so I suppose I'll wrap things up by asking, what are you currently engaged in terms of each one of your categories?
So I am in my special category, my off the grid category, because I'm going to be playing it forever. I'm playing Balatro. I am streaming Shadow Tower right now. Like I said, it's the grandfather to Dark Souls. A Pixen style boomer shooter mixed with like almost Morrowind on the PS5. And the retro game I'm playing right now is Dead Space Extraction on the Wii.
Oh, the fact you're calling that retro makes my soul hurt.
That's why I slowed down my speed, because it hurt as I was saying it. It was like putting a knife in my own stomach as those words came out of my mouth.
You know, Petty, the Wii is 20 years old.
I'm aware. Looking at my Xbox 360 on my desk, I feel the soul leaving my body.
For Retro Gaming Emporium, I had a rule that mirrored the nostalgia critics, and that's that in order to qualify as retro, it had to be at least 7 years old. So that was my excuse when I tried feebly to play Drakengard 3.
Dude, oh my god. I love Drakengard 3. I love Drakengard 3. The last boss of Drakengard 3 is the most bullshit boss that has ever been made, and I respect that so much. If you've never seen the final boss, the whole game is a hack and slash game, all the way through, Devil May Cry style. The last boss turns into a rhythm game, and you have button presses to music that is slowing down at an uneven tempo, and then the screen fades out, and you can't see where the button presses are, and then the credits start rolling, and you think the game is over, but then there are button presses at the end of the credits. And if you miss, you have to go back and do the entire boss fight again.
Do yourself a favor, never play Drakengard. Just watch.
Please.
But you gotta play Drakengard because it's like the original games in the Nier series, right?
I know what it is. I also know it's complete bullshit.
Well, that's the problem with Dragon series. Dragon Dragoon. Yeah, it's just insane. And I'm pretty sure that the creator of that series is a depressed maniac.
There's no pretty sure about that. Yeah, it's Taro, bro.
Yeah.
Weird. I don't know what's going on. Is everybody still there?
But yeah, I stream. I stream on Friday nights on YouTube at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time.
Okay, and how long does that last?
I stream between 3 and 5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Fairly standard.
It's pretty good. It's a lot for me. I used to do it on Tuesdays after I worked for 16 hours. And it was like I almost died. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. So now we just do it on Fridays. And I love streaming, but for me, streaming is more something that I do to interact with all the people in the community. Yep. And I have a ton of people messaging me. I get tons of messages, and I was like, people want to know how the random backlog thing works, and they want to know, my history with music and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, come over to the live stream and I'll tell you in person. It's a lot easier than typing this out on the freaking Instagram messaging app. you know.
Yeah, that's how we do Blue Mondays when we play Heroes, City of Heroes on Mondays. It's pretty much there so that way my fans can come and listen to me go off on some rant tangent for 30 minutes.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, and what I'm planning on. My main job that I do Alzheimer's research at a university. I'm going to retire in the next 6 years. After that, I might do this like content creation thing full time. Maybe I'll just stream on Twitch like 5 days a week. But for now, 1 day a week is more than enough.
Yeah, that is the dream, man. That is the dream. All right. Well, let's wrap this up real quick. Any special appearances or things that you want to call special attention to before we go for the evening?
Oh Lord, yeah. I mean, check out my YouTube channels, RNG Gamer, RNG Gaming. You can just Google them; they'll pop up. And I'm going to be at Gadsden RetroCon February 8th, and I'll be a special guest also at Southeast Game Exchange in June. So those are on the books. And I'll be they're flying me out for the PTR convention in May. Sometime in May. Sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. But any retro game conventions, there's a fairly decent chance I'll be there. And if I'm not, reach out to the organization and have them fly me out to it. I'd love to be there.
There you go. Nice. All right. Well, James, it was lovely having you on the program. We'll have to have you come back when you've got your next big thing coming on and give us an update on your progress.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And you are welcome to stick around for the entertainment segment. We'll be doing a 10 or 15 minute coverage because Adam has a lot to cover, just to make sure that we cover the bases for the beginning of the year. But again, thanks for being on the show, and be sure to check out James Black, RNG Gamer. Just search on Google for RNG Gamer. His YouTube channel will come up.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Adam, take it away.
All right. So where to start? I know. Since it's the beginning of a new year, that means CES is in full swing.
Yep.
And that means many things. First of all, it means a lot of new gimmick devices.
Mm-hmm.
And
if I hear the letters AI one more time, I may actually explode.
Well, that, but also, how do I put it? Like, are you interested in a doggy door that has LED lights on it?
No one should be.
I mean, no one should be, but they're making that.
Oh, God.
That is a real thing that's coming out of CES. I mean, CES is always filled with gimmicks like this.
I mean, in fairness, a lot of these devices don't actually get made.
Right. But I'm just saying, these are some of the smart tech devices.
And like the stuff that do get made, they're typically, ripped off by something like Temu or Shein, or they're not made by the company who's peddling them.
It's pronounced Shine.
Yeah.
Well then.
Yeah. Or, are you in the market for a solar beach umbrella?
A solar beach umbrella.
I think I'm having a stroke.
Can I make a lemon meringue pie?
Don't ask. Okay. Well, here's the article. As with any regular beach umbrella, the Solix Solar Beach Umbrella is a portable, collapsible, and designed to protect you from rain and excessive sun. It's IP67 rated.
I hope so.
What makes this Solar Beach Umbrella unique from the one you probably have sitting in your garage is the flexible solar panels it has attached on top.
Yeah, those are going to be destroyed after about the 7th or 8th opening.
Yeah, like I said, these are the curios of CES. The main events that I want to talk about are the Switch 2, because, oh dear God, the Switch 2 leaks are all over the place, because a company called Genki, not to be confused with the Genki that makes, say, Tokyo Extreme Racer. No, they're apparently a French peripheral maker. They have been showing a 3D printed mock-up of the Switch 2, which is purportedly to be based off of a real model.
And Nintendo is not happy.
Well, here's the thing. Nintendo has not responded. Nintendo has not said word one.
Well, of course
And
they're
they're
not
not-
going to.
Well,
But
yeah, that's the...
You can tell that if they actually had the hit squad of ninjas, there would be nothing left at Genki right now.
Maybe, but that mean this means a few things, or a few potential things. Like my personal interpretation is that the Switch 2 announcement got delayed. Like, for whatever reason, Nintendo delayed it to, whenever they reveal it this year, as opposed to doing it in the fall of last year. And that is, Genki was probably under an NDA for that time period. It is no longer under an NDA. So now they can talk about the Switch 2, without showing off the Switch 2. But it's like, keep in mind, one of the things that we don't know about the Switch 2 is, what stage of production was this model when they based their 3D printed thing off of?
Right.
Because one of the things that kept coming up with this replica is that the X and Y buttons were flipped. And nobody knows if that was a mistake, or if that's a new design feature, or what. Like,
because that's just a mock-up. The buttons don't need to do anything, so it doesn't matter.
Right. And, Genki's been saying some other things, like apparently, like, the Switch 2 is not going to be compatible with the original Cradle, which I think people just assumed was going to be the case because, a new Switch means, new equipment. Like, one of the things that we want to, what people want out of an official Switch 2 reveal is what the specs are going to be. Some of the rumors are it's going to be an 8-inch LCD screen. Of course, that could be alongside a 8-inch OLED screen. Like, Nintendo could have multiple models at once. They could have the Switch 2 Lite alongside. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we don't know about the history of revealing new hardware right after CES. Like they did it with the Wii U, 10 or so years ago. For example. So I'm expecting Switch 2 news officially very soon, especially since they've only got a few more months before they are really obligated to reveal the Switch 2, because they said they would have the information out by the end of the fiscal year.
That ends end of March.
Yes. So it's not a big window. And over to Sony, because weirdly they had a lot of movie and television and entertainment announcements. Stuff that you would not expect at CES. Like Sony's going whole hog on bringing their PlayStation IPs to non-interactive screens. That is to say, we are getting movies based off of Helldivers. Helldivers has moved that quickly into adaptation. And Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, of course, people are not.
Horizons I actually see because it actually has a decent self-contained story.
Yeah, I mean, Helldivers.
I get it has lore, but I also not enough to make an actual story.
Well, it's like I'm concerned that they're going to try to do the Starship Trooper over the top stuff and miss the tone.
Probably, yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Ghost of Tsushima is getting a original anime headed to Crunchyroll, and being developed by Aniplex. So, dear God, all of Sony's going all in on this.
I keep forgetting that Sony owns Crunchyroll.
Sony not only owns Crunchyroll, they own Aniplex. Though those are like different entities. Like Crunchyroll is Sony Pictures and Sony Music, while Aniplex is solely owned by Sony Music. This is important because that means these different divisions do different things. And The Last of Us Season 2 has a release date and a new trailer out. So, like I said, Sony's doing a lot of movie stuff in the future. And moving to streaming news, and I wish Kevin were here for this because, he's the one who knows about sport.
Yeah.
Because Disney's Hulu has agreed to merge with Fubo, so that Fubo will drop their lawsuit blocking Venu. No, I did not make these words up.
But I wish you had.
I'm like, well, that has been 90% of the chatter around this deal. Like, people learning that Fubo exists and this joint venture between Fox, Warner Brothers, and Disney is going to be called Venu. And going, wait, these are real words? These are real things? Because they're so stupid sounding. And the answer is yes. Fubo is a sports streaming service primarily.
Mm-hmm.
They were the big, how do I put this, independent sports streamer. In fact, they had been suing Disney because of anti-competitive practices. And so Disney has decided to pull a Microsoft.
I mean, as you do.
Making the antitrust problem go away by purchasing the competitor. I'm like, well, we're about to hit the second Trump era, so this is probably going to pass muster for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, see if Kevin were here, he'd be able to tell us the particular details of what's on Fubo. Because if anyone here would use that, it'd be him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not, so anyway, and I do have to mention this because I don't know, for some reason the mainstream has been really focused on it, but Hulk Hogan heavily booed on the premiere of WWE Raw on Nets. I'm like,
oh God, I saw that on TikTok, and I was just like, oh my God.
I saw that live, and though I didn't hear it because I had muted, because I was not listening to fucking Terry Bollea in 2025. Like, I only unmuted it when the caption said he was being booed. The now mimetic thing. Crowd boos, and Hulk is looking shocked. I'm like,
This is my shocked face.
no, that doesn't really work because it's a real shock face. Like, he thought he was going to be cheered. I'm like, here's the thing. They were in LA.
Oh God, yeah.
I'm like, yeah. No. Hogan, if you wanted to be cheered, you wanted Raw to be in, Biloxi, Mississippi.
yes,
like-
where the intelligence is much lower.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a reminder that most people actually hate Trumpers. It's just they didn't get off their ass and vote.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's new data to back this up. So thank you for that, you assholes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think on that note, that'll wrap up the entertainment segment for the week.
All right. Well, that's pretty much our show for this week. As I said, I should have my internet back on the next day or so. I have to pay the rent first. That's overdue, and then I'll pay the internet bill, and then I'll get back online, and I'm going to do some test streams to test the overall quality of what I'm doing for strategy RPG sessions, as well as Arcade Anarchy. Again, a big thank you to our guest, James Black, for being on the program. And next week, we have a very special guest. We have Ogawa Baruku, artist of Fallen. Adam, can you give me a little more insight into that?
As in the webcomic?
Yeah.
I'm like, I've only read a few, part of the first chapter. So I'm like, there's not really a descriptor on the web page of what it is, but it's a fantasy web comic starring the Fair Folk or something akin to that. I mean,
well, I was also keenly. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, research has been a bit preliminary because I tend to focus on the thing right in front of me, as in we got but yeah, he's also going to be having a Kickstarter around active when we interview him, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, well, that's good timing. But I was also interested in former manga assistant, storyboard artist, and illustrator for 16 years in Japan. So this should be a very interesting.
He didn't mention what manga he worked on, and I really haven't had the time to ask. But that's what the interview is for.
Right. We'll all find out on January 15th. All right, guys. Well, that's it for our first show of 2025. So I hope everybody had fun and was entertained. And we'll see you all next week. I will, of course, be back on Monday with Shadows Mist for more Blue Mondays on twitch.tv/Mac Paladin. And until then, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, kids.